Okay, got it, guys. So today we're going to be working in our class number 5.2, which is super easy and it's kind of short. It's going to be a class which is going to help us to polish a little bit our sentences, right? Because it's going to remind us about the different parts of the sentence, and it's going to tell us like why we have to use some things that maybe we don't know why we have to use, right? For example, I know that you have seen many times expressions like, for example, do you know what is the contraction M? Have you ever seen that contraction M?
No, never.
Never? You have never? Wow, have you?
Like, no.
No, nothing. For example, there is album of a band of rock, which is Kill 'Em All, no? So Kill 'Em All.
Yes, I was about to say that, but I said, like, maybe no. But that was what I was thinking.
What is
Like, kill
it
them.
possible? Yeah, exactly. So
Them,
kill,
like, it's them, no?
yes, exactly. It's a contraction of them, right? So in that case, we have them. Oh, for example, when I say, have you ever noticed the slang of Nike, which is just what is the slang of Nike? Just what?
Do
Do
it.
it.
Just do it. Very good. And why we have to include these kind of expressions here? Yeah, like yeah, or like when I say, for example, tell him, what's the contraction about it? Tell
Him.
him, right? So in that case, what we're using it's something or it's a person. In this case, it's a person which is going to receive the action. Well, here it's an action that is going to be done, no? So that it's going to receive the action that I mentioned here. So when we do these kind of things, we are going to learn that in a sentence, we usually have different parts. Normally, we have the subject, which is the person that does the action, and we have the verb, which is the action that we do. Yeah, that's easy, no? That's the basic of English, right? But also we have a complement. And in the complement, we can have many different things. Well, let's go over the first initial question and then we go back to this part. But let's go first to the first initial question. Mahu, could you please help me to read the first question, honey?
Yes. Who might be the best advisor or counselor for you?
Consular? Very good. So
Okay.
who is possibly the best advisor or counselor for you in your life? Could be somebody real, could be, I mean, somebody concrete, could be, I don't know, Jesus Christ, could be, I don't know. Who's the best advisor or counselor for you? Do you know what is the meaning of advisor? Yes.
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 Consejero.
It's a person who gives you advice, no? Or counselor, which is a person who gives you the anyway, who guides you, no? So who is the best counselor for you? In my case, I would probably say that is, I don't know. Sometimes my mom, sometimes God, because I don't know when the people give me advices, I usually find some flaws, some problems on the advices of the people that the people give me. But when I listen to God and when I pray and when I meditate, I usually find the best advices for myself. But of course, it's not for myself, but it's with God's help. So I would say that for me, the best advisor is God, in my personal opinion. What about you?
Teacher for me, it's my father. He always advised me on important decision.
Very good. And he always, or usually advise you well, advise you correctly.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Maho, in your case?
Teacher, for me, is also God. Like, I look in the Bible always when I need like an advice or like I'm confused about something, like I try to, Jesus, please give me a signal or something, and I open up the Bible and check there what he wants to um guide me about.
Yeah, like he
Oh,
wants me to read. Yeah, lo que quiere que yo, when he wants me to read, right?
mhm. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And if we talk about persons, I would say my sister, my older sister. She's like always always put my head onto place. Like when I have like confusing thoughts, she's always right about the things that I have to do. So I listen always careful to her because she's so wiseful.
Wise,
Yes,
just wise, it's all
wise.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So she always
wise.
brings you down to earth, no? Like, hey, your place
Yes,
is this one. See, okay.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
She's always right about everything.
Very good, excellent. Yeah, there is a person which is usually right, no? And well, this is not hate, but which or who would you say that is the worst advisor for you? Probably not like a bad person, but it's a person whose advices are probably kind of crazy or kind of out of place when you say like this person is kind of crazy. How is going to recommend me that? Who would be probably the worst advisor for you?
My best friend. My best friend. That
Okay.
girl is wild. she's
Exactly, no?
always she's always like trying to get me into trouble. Like, hey, let's do this. Hey,
Yeah,
no, say to him like something like this. Like, I don't know. She's always doing wrong things and want me to do the things that she doesn't.
exactly. Well, and probably they do it because of good intentions, but anyway, it's like, my God, no, that was not a good recommendation, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
Okay, very good. Santi, what about for you? Do you have a person who gives you bad advices?
Yes, for me, my mom sometimes, because she is impulsive,
Uh-huh.
just as me,
Mm-hmm.
and
So,
sometimes she, como así, she buy the first thing that you see, for example,
okay, she makes impulsive purchase, right? So it's an impulsive purchase.
right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, very good. Well, in a case, I would have to say that my worst advisor probably is my girlfriend because she wants me or she spoils me a lot. So when I ask for a recommendation, sometimes I am in need for a strong recommendation. Like, no, you have to work harder. But my girlfriend is like, no, don't worry, rest a little bit more, sleep a little bit more. And that is not the best recommendation for me, no, because I mean, I need to be more disciplined. So maybe she spoils me too much. So that's why it's the worst recommendation for me, or the worst advisor for me, right? Well,
Where is
it
this spoil?
it's tell me, spoil.
Mm-hmm.
Spoil, it
Where is this spoil?
means like malcriar, right? Like when I say
Um,
spoil a person, it's like malcriar a person. For example, usually the parents who give everything to their kids are spoiling them, ready? So
okay.
they are ruining him.
Okay, interesting.
Exactly. So, in this case, what we are talking about is another person who gives me recommendation, right? Might be good, might be bad, but it's another person who's going to give me something, right? It's going to recommend me something. It's going to tell something to me. Or it's going to tell something. It's going to tell me something, right? When we have this part, we can see that there is a subject. As I told you before, there is a subject and there is an action. The action could be give, a recommendation, could be tell, an advice, right? So that's the action that the person is doing. And in this case, the complement, it's going to be the person, in this case, us, who receive the action. Yeah. So in the part of the complement, we can have many things. We can have places, we can have times. When I say on weekends at 7 a.m., times, complements of time. I can have places like in the park, in the school, in Colombia, at home, complements of time, of place, sorry. And I can have also complements of manner, yes, which is carefully or fastly or slowly, which is the way in which one action is done. For example, I run fastly in the park. I am including a complement of place and a complement of manner. But sometimes we're going to have a complement which is called the object. The object, it's going to be that person or an object, right? So it's going to be a person, or it's also possible to be an object that is going to receive the action that we are talking about, right? For example, when I say, I visit my mom, of course, I am the subject because I am the person who is doing the action of visit. Who is the person that is receiving the visit? My mom. So my mom, in that case, it's going to be the object, right? Okay, so when we talk about this part of verbs, subjects, and objects, right? We're going to have different classification of verbs. Ready? One of the verbs are going to be called transitive verbs, and the other ones are going to be called intransitive. We saw that intransitive. We saw that at the beginning of this level. Remember what was the difference between transitive and intransitive?
Teacher, to be honest, I don't remember.
No problem, it's common. The transitive verbs are going to be the verbs that are followed by an object. They have the possibility to be followed by an object, like for example, kiss, like I kiss my girlfriend. Yeah, it's a transitive verb because after it can receive an object. There are other verbs which are intransitive. They don't have or they don't receive an object. These are actions that nobody receives, right? Actions which are most of the time impersonal, right? So, for example, when I say it's raining or it rains, this is a verb which is impersonal because nobody receives that action. Nobody is receiving the rain. It's just it rains and that's it, right? Or for example, when I say the expression like it sucks, right? So is an action that it doesn't receive or it's not received by any person. So it's an intransitive verb. Ready? But when we have transitive verbs that they have an object, we are going to have another subcategory. We can have a transitive verb and also we can have others which are the transitive verbs. The transitive verbs. Maybe do you remember what is the difference between transitive and the transitive?
No.
No.
No problem, no problem. The transitive verbs are going to be the verbs that only receive one object. Ready? They only receive one object. And the detransitive verbs are going to be the ones that receive or that like can adopt two different objects. I can have two different kinds of objects. I can have the direct object and the indirect object. Ready? The difference is that the direct object is the one that directly receives the action. Ready? And the indirect object is the one, it's another person who is going to receive the direct object. For example, I bought flowers for my mom. Who do you think? Well, the subject, of course, it's me. I am the subject, ready? And of course, the action, the verb, is going to be both. Then we have flowers for my mom. Who do you think that is the direct object?
Flowers?
Flowers, very good. So in that case, because it's the object that I bought. Directly, the action of being bought is received by the flowers. And who is the person who's receiving the flowers? My mom, right? So in that case, my mom, it's going to be the indirect object indirect object, and the flowers are going to be the direct object. Ready? So this is a verb, for example, buy is a verb that receives two different subjects, two different objects, sorry. So it's the transitive, right? Is it transitive? Because it receives the direct object and the indirect object, right? Hmm? But for example, if I say the verb, no, I don't know, maybe we could say, yes. I say, no say, I say the information. Yeah, so in that case, it's just one. It's just I say the information, that's it, right? If I want to include another object, probably I could do it, but using the preposition to. I say the information to them. So at the beginning, it's just simply with one object, but if I want, I can introduce another one, another object using the preposition to. Different verbs are going to be like focused over here, but we're going to focus over here in the transitive verbs, the ones that receive always the two different objects, the direct object and the indirect object. Ready? A transitive verb would be, for example, the verb know or the verb understand. They just receive one verb, one object. No, for example, when I say, I know the place, for example, right? There is no possibility to include another object. Nobody's going to receive the place. So in that case, just I know the place. That's it. What do I know? The place, that is the direct object, but there is no an indirect object, right? Or if I say, for example, I understand the topic. Okay, so I understand what I understand, the topic, and that's it. There is no possibility to include another object. Ready? So, but today we're going to, well, we have seen transitive and intransitive already done, but today we're going to focus on the detransitive verbs, right? And also in another kind of verbs, which are called the causative verbs, right? The detransitive verbs are going to have two different possible structures. One, which is probably the most common one, which is the direct object first, the preposition to or for, and then the indirect object. Similar, for example, the expression, I bought flowers for my mom. Flowers, direct object, for my mom, indirect object, my mom, right? So in that case, it's with verbs like, well, these ones are only some examples. There are others, but well, the idea is that we can later remember, but these are some examples of the verbs that follow the structure number one. Announce, describe, explain, mention, provide, recommend, return, and say. Ready? As I said, for example, before, well, I think that I read the example. Yes, I read it. When I say I said the information to him, right? So including the preposition to, right? So in that case, has, I can only have the first part. I say it, right? Like when I say, I say it. It's not necessary to include the second part. But if I want to include the other person, I can do it, including the preposition to or for it. I say it to him. The it is the information that I said, which is the direct object, and him, it's the person who is receiving the information, and it's the indirect object, right? So the verbs announce, describe, explain, mention, provide, recommend, return, and say, they are going to have the structure of having first the direct object and then the indirect object, right? Any questions with the verbs over here? Announce, describe with the vocabulary, or is it right?
Is ¿cómo es? The transitive, right?
Yeah, all of these ones are the transitive because all of them have direct and indirect object. So all of the verbs that are here are going to be the transitive.
Okay.
So there are also that follow the first expression, the first structure, which is direct, and then indirect with the preposition in the middle. There are others that work with the structure number two, right? Indirect object plus direct object with no preposition, no? In that case, the person that is receiving the object is first, and then the object is later, right? For example, the verb allow, which is permit, no? So for example, in that case, I allow myself to, no sé, bueno, in that case, no. I allow myself, no, wait, I was thinking another example. Well, yes. I allow you more time, right? In which case, of course, the direct object, it's going to be over here, the time, that is the thing that I am allowing, ready? And the indirect object, it's the person that is receiving the permission, in this case, you, right? Of course, if it's an action, I will have to include two and then the action. I allow you to spend more time. I allow you to practice in class. I allow you to blah, blah, whatever. But if it's a noun, an object, right? It's going to have no preposition. It's just the object and that's it, right? Or for example, bueno, más bien, you ask me many questions. You ask me many questions. The direct object, what would be the direct object in this case when I say you ask me many questions?
Many question, no?
Of course, many questions, because that's the thing that is being asked. So this is the direct object. And me, who am the person who's receiving the questions, I'm going to be the indirect object, right? The indirect object. Ready? Easy. So these verbs allow, ask, cause, cost. It costs me a lot of money. It causes me a lot of pain, right? So it's going to have the structure of the indirect object, the person who receives them, and then the object with no preposition. Ready? And also we have others, which are going to be used in both structures. They have the possibility to use one or to use two, the one that you prefer, right? For example, give. I can say let's say my best friend gives me bad recommendations. Bad recommendations. Yes. So as Maria Jose said, so she said, my best friend gives me bad recommendations. Of course, is using the structure number two. She gives me bad recommendations. But if I want to do it with structure number one, with the verb give, it's possible. I can say, for example, that she gives bad recommendations to me. And it's also possible. So these verbs which are in the middle, get, give, lend, offer, sell, send, show, teach, or tell, are going to have the possibility to include both structures, or with preposition or without preposition, inverting the order of the objects, right? What do you think? Is it more or less clear, the two different structures?
Yes, more or less clear for
Yeah,
me.
more or less clear. Mao, anything? Good?
Good, teacher, is clear.
Okay, very good. Question then. How much did your cell phone or your phone cost you? You can invent it. You don't have to necessarily tell me the real price, so no worries. How much did your phone cost you?
My cell phone costs 5 million pesos.
My phone or my cell phone cost ¿a quién?
Cost me
Exactly. Cost me 5 million pesos. Good. So in that case, there you see that we have to include the object, yeah, direct and indirect. Many times we forget about it and we skip that part and we say my phone cost 5 million pesos. Okay, but no los pagaste tú, okay? No, yes. Okay, because it's necessary to include it. It's necessary to include every single detail of the sentence, right? My phone cost Me, 5 million, right? Not my mother, not my father, no, cost me because I pay with my money. So my phone cost me 5 million, right? Excellent, very good. Or, for example, have you ever taught something to somebody? Something to someone? Have you ever taught something to someone? You understand the question? Yes. Have you ever taught, which is the past participle of teach? Have you ever taught something to someone?
Yes, for me, I taught to my cousin
What did you teach?
math.
I taught math to my cousin. Very good. So the direct object, of course, is math, which is the subject that you taught. And then, including the preposition to, you are going to go with the indirect object. The indirect object in this case is your cousin because it's the person that receives the math classes, no? So exactly like that. Maho, what about you? Have you ever taught something to someone?
Yes, I have thought about the Bible to young people at church. I was
Okay.
a leader at church.
Very good, very good. So in that case, since she was a leader, she taught about the Bible, like, oh, she taught the Bible, yeah, in general to younger people, right? So in that case, the Bible, it's the direct object, and then the indirect one, it's going to be I forget the people who receive the thoughts, right? So in that case, it's a good idea to try both combinations. Most of them are going to work with both, no? Like having the direct object first, the preposition, and then the indirect or the other one too. Very little are restricted to just one, no? I mean, not many verbs are restricted to just one structure. Most of them possibly can receive both, right? So it's not a problem if you make a mistake on that. Some little, like for example, ask the person, yes, they can be restricted to one, but anyway, for example, with the verb ask or allow, there is a possibility to include two if the next part is an action, no? For example, let's say my children ask me to sleep early no? So in that case, it's a possibility to include two, not because it's an indirect object, but because it's an action, right? But I can say also, for example, that my children asked me a new PS5. In that case, since it's not an action, it's an direct object, there it's just going to be without preposition. The indirect object, which is me, and then the direct object, which is the object that they asked me, which is a new PS5, right? So some verbs are going to have the possibility to include another verb after them, right? But if it's a person or if it's an object, then I have to follow these rules, no? So direct object or indirect object, depending on the verb. Ready? So far, so good? What do you think? All good? Not fine?
A good teacher.
All good. Great.
Oh, good.
Very good. Now, they have another part here in which they say, Santi, help me to read the first part, the white sentence.
When the direct object is a pronoun, it goes before the indirect object. My best friend owes money to me. My best friend always eat to me.
Exactly, no? So in this case, my best friend owes money to me. Yes. Of course, I can say my best friend owes me money because owes receives both possibilities. Yes. My best friend owes money to me or my best friend owes me money. But when the direct object is a pronoun, o sea, it. Yes. I have to use the structure number one. My best friend owes it to me. What is it? Money. But if I am using the object pronoun, it, him, them, all of them are going to be before. I mean, following the structure number one. Before the direct object, then the preposition, and then the indirect object. Ready? Majo, read the number two, my dear, the yellow one.
When the indirect object is a pronoun, it can go before or after the direct I can see object.
Object, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The teacher gave me the best grade. The teacher gave the best grade.
To me. Ready? So in
To
that
me.
case, I
I
falta to
think
me.
it's me.
Sorry. Entonces, in that case, the direct object was a pronoun, but it can be before it, when I say the teacher gave me the best grade, or the teacher gave the best grade to me. Not a problem. When it's the indirect object, when it's the person that receives the action, right? For example, I can say, I tell them the tips, or I tell the tips to them, right? Depending, as I prefer. Always that the indirect object is a pronoun. Ready? If it's the direct object, okay, I just have to follow the first structure, which is the direct object, and then and then the indirect object, no? So if, for example, here I would say, I tell, ya sé que son de los tips, ¿no? So I tell them to Majo and Santi. Ese then, ¿a qué se referirá? What do you think? I tell them to Majo and Santiago.
Decirle a ellos.
No, because you are the indirect object, which in this case are afterwards.
I don't know.
No idea. Majo, any idea? When I say I tell them to? For example, if the previous sentence, imagine that
I
the
don't
previous
understand the question.
when I say them, am I referring to, well, let's suppose that the previous question was my students ask me the tips. No, so in that case,
Them is the students, right? Like I tell no.
exactly like that. Then in this case, which is a little bit less possible and less common, but it's also possible, it's talking about, look at this. My students ask me the tips. I tell them to Majo and Santi. O sea, my students are here. Entonces, ¿qué será them?
The tips.
The tips, exactly like that.
But
Ready?
I don't understand
It's
why.
confusing because in this case, the tips and my students are both plural. Ambos son plurales. Ready? But in that case, if this is the direct object, but let me just write it in black. Direct object
Tips.
and the indirect object.
Tips es tips. The tips.
Ah, sí, the tips.
Ah,
Like como de secretos, like that.
sí,
Como,
no, así sí tiene sentido. Yo estaba pensando otra cosa, como de propinas, de tips, de...
ok, no. The tips de
Yo-
como los tips para hacer algo, right? Entonces, lo que
um,
digo es que acá, cuando tengo el direct object vuelto un pronombre, siempre voy a seguir la primera estructura. Direct object, preposition, and indirect object. Mientras que cuando el que es un pronombre es el indirect object, puedo seguir la primera o la segunda. Es lo que dice acá. Entonces, I tell them the tips. Esta es la segunda, ¿cierto? La segunda estructura sin preposición. O la primera, I tell the tips to them, which is the structure number one. Puedo cualquiera de las dos. Pero cuando el que es un pronombre es el objeto directo, debo seguir la estructura número 1, o sea, direct object, preposition, and indirect object, ¿vale? ¿Better?
Yes, better.
Bueno, muy bien, very good, guys. Listo. So these are, well, some of the verbs that are followed by two different verbs, well, two different objects, sorry, direct and indirect, ready? And then the two structures that we have. Also, in addition here, we're going to follow, or we're going to complement it with the causative verbs. Do you have any idea, or have you ever listened about the causative verbs? Any ideas?
No, teacher, for me.
No. Well, the causative verbs are some verbs that, of course, as the other previous ones, go over an object, yes. But in this case, as their name says, they cause. They cause the object to do something. Ready? For example, when I say, my brother, my brother makes me organize. What is the meaning of makes me? That he forces me, yeah, he causes me that I organize. As an obligation, he makes me organize. So the causative verbs are verbs that always are over, or like they go over an object, any person can be, and they what they do is that they give me they cause an action over the object that I'm talking about. No, for example, in this case, my brother, of course, is the subject. The verb, of course, is make, and then I'm going to be here the object, the direct object. Ready? And of course, the action that we have here, it's going to be the indirect object, which is the action that I have to do. Right? So in that case, the idea is that all of these ones are going to manage here an action afterwards, ready? But like before, they are going to receive an object, can be an object pronoun or can be the name. So of course it can be me, you, him, her, him, her, it, us, or them, which is the object, or possibly the name of the person. Yeah. The verbs that we can have over here are going to be some, not so many, especially some. The first one is get, probably the most common one. The second one is make, ready? The third one is have. Then we have also let, ready? And help, ready? So we have get, make, have, let, and help, and want, right? So these 6 verbs, they have another meaning when I do, or when I put these verbs into the causative structure or into the causative context. Because then when I say, for example, make, which is, hacer, when I say make somebody to do something, it's like forcing the person, which is the indirect object, to do that action. The action, of course, is the direct object in that case, no? But it's because when I say make the person is receiving the action of doing that, right? So in that case, of course, before that, I am going to have just the subject, and that verb is going to be conjugated in the tense that I want. Present, past, future. So it can be got, made, had, is getting, is having, is making. The verb is conjugated. And then the other verb after the object, it's going to be a verb in infinitive. Ready? Very, very quickly, we're going to read a story, but give me 1 second. I'm going to open it. Wait a second. I need to open the story. Wait. Aquí, that's it. Let me just read the sentence, but no, you are going to read it actually for me, ready? And in this case, it's going to be a very clear example of how the causative verbs are usually followed by another object, ready? So, Santi, my friend, could you please read from the beginning until here, which is little bit, ready? Wait a second. Está aquí. Until this part, which is little bit. Go ahead, Sam.
Usually on Saturday night, my girlfriend lets me invite some friends over. She always wants me to feel happy and relaxed after a long week. Nevertheless, my mom came to visit us for a work week, so things changed a little bit.
Good. So in that case, we start saying that usually on Saturday night, my girlfriend lets me. So here, I am receiving the action of the permission, no? My girlfriend lets me invite some friends over, and she always wants me to feel relaxed and happy, right? Or happy and relaxed. So she wants, but not an action. She wants me to do something. So that's why it's a causative, because the one, it's not about another action, but it's over me. So she's causing me to feel happy and relaxed, right? So in that case, she said that my mom came to visit for a long time, for a whole week, and the things change. Maho, could you please continue, my dear?
Despite she helped us cleaning and cooking the whole week, she didn't want me to spend my time with my friends. She said that I should always be sharing time exclusively with my girlfriend. Unfortunately, we had a big grip, right? Since she always get me to be a family guy.
Exactly.
Is
Very
grip
well.
or right or
Yeah, grip, but wait a second before we
grip
have another conjugate correction. Unfortunately.
of unfortunately.
Exactly. So these three letters, these four
What
letters
they
are
say?
not going to sound.
What
Unfortunately.
did I say? What
I don't remember. I don't remember how you pronounce it, but it's
and how
unfortunately.
it is
Yes.
and how it is?
Unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Important. Okay. How
Unfortunately.
it is?
Omitting
Okay.
these two syllables, right?
Okay.
Mhm. Very good. So unfortunately, well, let's say so she helped us. So another causative, like helping us, helping another person, in this case is us, ready? We received the help of my mom, so that's why she helped us clean and cooking. She didn't want me. So one more time, want, but not an action. Want me to do another action to spend time with my friends. So she said that I should always be sharing time exclusively with my boyfriend, and we have a big grip. Grip, it means like discussion, like an argument. Ready? Since she always gets, here is gets, I'm sorry, gets me to be a family guy. So we have get, we have want, we have help, and we have let. Ready? These verbs are going to mean something different. When we have the verb get someone to do something, I am talking about convincing the person to do something. Ready? So when I say she always gets me to be a family guy, is because my mother always convinced me to stop going out with my friends and be a family guy, no? So she always convinced me to do that. Make, on the other hand, it's going to be force. Not convincing another person, but obligating the person to do that, right? So it's not voluntarily, but it's like an obligation. Ready? Have, on the other hand, it's going to be encourage. Encourage the person to do something or pay the person to do something. So when I say, for example, I have my brother to help me with the no sé, with the cleaning of the house because my brother has no job. So as I don't have time, I have my brother to help me with the house cleaning. No, so I pay my brother to do that. Or encourage, motivate, right? So for example, I have my students practice every day. I have my students practice every day. No, so motivate the person to do something. All of these verbs always go over a person. So that's why I said I have my brother, I have him, I have my students, I make my brother, I make my wife, I make nothing. Get, no, I get my best friend gets me, and so on, so on, right? Let, of course, is a permission, permit. Yes, like for example, my teacher lets me use the cell phone in class, something like that, right? And help us, literally, it's help, no? So it's basically that one doesn't change too much, it's the same, no? So help somebody to do something. And want, of course, it's talking about desire when you want somebody to do something or when somebody wants you to do something, right? Some of them include the preposition to before the verb. For example, want, help, yes, get. Other ones, not necessarily. For example, have is not necessary. Let is not necessary. Make is not necessary to use the to, right? So I can say, for example, I made my best friend. I made my best friend clean my car because he got it dirt. So that's why I made my best friend clean my car because I lent it to him and he got it dirty. So that's why I made my best friend clean my car. Not necessarily the use of to, right? But always necessary the use of an object pronoun after the verb. How do you feel? Better? Questions about it? Easy? Possible? Yeah, good.
Good, teacher.
Good. Yes. Maha, all fine? Difficulties?
Good teacher.
Good. Ready. Wait, so we're going to read some sentences over here, which I would like you to complete for me. The sentences are already kind of done. What I would like you is simply complete them for me. Wait, over here. Can you read it? Or these sentences over here? Yes. Should I make it bigger? Oh, they are all right.
It's okay.
All right.
It's all right. So, Santi, read the first one and try to complete it with something related to your life.
My mom always makes me clean my bedroom.
For example, my mom always makes me clean my God, sorry, not in black, in red. Clean my bedroom, whatever, no? So that's very common. Majo, number two.
I always want my daddy um mm, to not work so much,
As negative, not to. Not to
not
work
to
so
work
much. Very good. Uh-huh.
that much.
Yes. Oh, that much. Very good. Perfect. Uh-huh. Santi, number three.
My teacher usually has me to study more.
Has not necessary to use to. So my teacher usually has me study more, right? So
Okay.
good. Like practice more. It motivates me. Very good. Majo, number four. Yes.
I never can get my best friend to do right things.
To do right things.
Yes,
Very good. So
it's a
she's kind
mess.
of crazy, right? Okay, very good. So Majo can never get her best friend to do right things. Okay. Santi, number five.
My girlfriend lets me go out alone.
Good, very good.
Example,
So my girlfriend lets you or doesn't let you.
lets me go out alone.
Very good. So his girlfriend lets him go out a lot, right? Good, very good. And the last one, number six, my dear Majo.
My siblings have to help me. Um, I I don't know. My siblings have to help me. Mm, oh, I don't know, teacher.
For example, well, not
Nothing is
now. Yeah, tell me.
no, like nothing's in my mind.
Like before, when I was living with my mom, my little brother, helped
Oh,
in, but
I got one. My siblings have to help me to tell lies when I want to stay up late
okay.
or something like that. My
Mm,
little brother
huh? Mhm.
did that when I lived with them
Exactly. So
because
your
my
siblings,
parents hate
exactly.
to we to stay late at night, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So in that case, for example, there is a verb which is covered up. Covered up is like,
Mhm.
life for me. Good. So my siblings have to, well, my little brother has to, or had to help me to cover up or cover me up, ready? Cover me up with my parents, well, with your parents in that case, right?
Okay.
Mhm. Ready? Bueno, guys, so basically the idea of today, it was like working on the object of the sentence, which is a part that is not so commonly worked. Normally we focus on the subject and the verb, ready? Normally we use, or we talk about the grammar, the simple present, the I, the she, but the object is a part which we usually skipped, as for example, something happened at the beginning, okay? He said, I don't remember, but he skipped the object, so it's pretty common that we skip the objects, that we don't include them, but it's necessary to be very specific, to specify exactly who is receiving the action and probably what is receiving that person, right? If it's an indirect object. So now we know that there are different ways to express it, different structures, and also that there are other verbs which are especially dedicated to cause another action on that object, ready? Which are the causative verbs, right? Questions, my dear people, difficulties, guys, anything, everything good?
No, teacher, everything good.
Everything good, teacher.
Everything good, guys. Glad to hear that. So for the moment, that would be all for tonight for our week number 5. See you the next week. The next week is only one class, so it's going to be super easy, no problem. So see you there in the class number 6, and that's it. I hope that you don't have problems with activities. If you have problems with activities, let me know. Remember that your contract finishes on October 17th, ready? So for you to take it into account, October 17th is gonna be the last day of your contract. So advance, try to finish the level, okay? So don't leave it before, and that's it, right?
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
teacher.
thank you,
Bye.
teacher.
Have
Bye.
a good night. See you next week, okay? Bye bye.